buckle up, because it's going to be a long ride. It's going to be a wild ride. Nobody cares, but we're going to tell you anyways. This is Popcorn Chats.
Alrighty, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Popcorn Chats. I'm MICHAE.
And I'm Katie.
And we are back. This is technically a repeat episode, but like an updated version of it. We are here to break down, or just like highlight, our top 10 favorite movies of all time. We did this episode previously back within like our first few months of being a podcast. So obviously it's a long time since we've done that. And we only did top 5 at the time. So we're doing top 10 this time. And yeah, we're just going to share with you our top 10 favorite movies.
Do you remember what your top 5 were? That's like 2 years ago now, over 2 years ago.
Yeah. I don't, and I didn't want to look before I did this because I didn't want that list to influence this list, but I do plan on going back and listening to that old episode. Did you look up what yours were?
I didn't. I think I remember a couple. I know I have a lot of the same ones on this list, but the order of things have changed, and I feel good about my list, I think.
Me
Some
too.
I feel more strongly about than others, but I think they all belong on this list nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we're doing this because I think a lot of people listen to that episode first. At least that's like the feedback I've gotten from people who like start listening to the podcast is they just listen to our top 10 movies or top 10 TV shows or like one of those ranking ones first. Those are good episodes to kind of get the vibe of this show. So it only makes sense to like do an updated one because we're definitely different girlies from the girlies that we were 2.5 years ago. And yeah, I'm excited. We haven't done anything like this in a while, so.
We haven't.
But first, we must check in. Bitch. What's up? How are you doing?
Good. I have nothing to check in about, so I'm going to skip for the sake of time. So
Oh, yeah.
I can bounce it back to you.
Well, I did just want to ask how Aria's Tum Tum is doing.
She's doing good. They're both like all better now. Like I have not had any issues deposited in their litter box lately. So good.
Okay,
They're both
that's
doing much better. Thank you for asking.
Good. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to check in about either. The premiere was this past weekend. It went really well. It was really fun. And yeah, now the film Stoker Street is on YouTube. If you want to see it, you can just search Stoker Street and it's on the Skellion Films YouTube channel. That's my production company that I have with Shelby, the person who wrote and directed Stoker Street. So if you want to see it, it's on YouTube. Much
Very
else to check in on. I have Cooper. We're watching him
Oh,
a few days this week, so he might make an appearance in this episode, but he's sleeping with Corinne over there, so.
Cute. Well, I'm
And
excited to watch it.
Yeah, these fucking Jehovah's Witnesses keep coming to my house too. That's, I guess, another update. They knocked on the door today and we had to hide.
We're two girlies that love each other. Go away.
Literally, yeah. Corinne, like, was looking out the window and the lady saw her. So I was like, God damn it.
That's so, like, sketchy. Just go away.
I know, and we live in, like, a gated area, like, or a gated apartment complex. So it's like, how the fuck do you keep getting in
Yeah.
here?
That's really weird.
She knows the code or something, but it's like, lady, I literally blocked your number. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm not a Jehovah's.
You're not down with the Jehovah's. So sorry.
No. I think I'm like the only person that gave her the time of day, so that's why she's being so
Probably.
persistent. But it's like, I don't like conflict. Yeah, but let's get into this.
Tragic.
Let's start. Can we start with like 10, 9, 8, 7, and then
Yeah.
we do like honorable mentions?
Oh, I don't have any honorable mentions, but yes.
Okay.
Shall we start with number 10?
Yeah. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I can go first because you're going to laugh at this one. Because I'm like
Okay.
laughing at myself. I was like, bitch, did you really put this on here? But here's the thing. I didn't want to like be influenced. I didn't want to go like Googling like movie. Like I just wanted to be like off the top of my head. What are 10 movies that pop into my head that I love? And
Mhm.
I'm putting Frozen 2 down. At number 10. Frozen 2 is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal film. I absolutely
I've never
love
seen
it. It's good. The music's amazing in it. The story's great. The characters are good. I think this is partially influenced too. I did just watch, like, in recent months, like just a couple of months ago, Disney Plus has an entire like making of Frozen 2 documentary, and it's like a 6-part documentary about the process of making this movie. So that is maybe like partially influenced because I watched that and I was like, this is amazing. This movie slaps. I don't really have much else. I just love Disney movies, and Frozen 2. It's really great. I don't know. You know what? Right now it's in there. So, and I'm actually putting together a couple of honorable mentions while I'm sitting here thinking about it, knowing that we'll do that. Yeah. But anyways, Frozen 2 is, I'm putting it in the 10th spot. Lila's Frozen 2.
Lila's Frozen 2. I gotta watch it. Okay, my number 10 is Beasts of the Southern Wild, which was on my original top 5 back in yesteryear when we did that episode. I think I like it so much because the director also composed the film's score, and music is like a really important aspect of storytelling to me. Yeah, I think that's why I always remember this film. Always will have it like ingrained in my mind. Like, I plan on being the music supervisor for all the films that I hopefully make in the future. And I'll always remember the way that this movie made me feel. It literally, like, it's like the only movie that I've ever like sobbed. Like, I was like holding my sides, like sobbing, crying, like inconsolable. I can't really think of any other movie that's made me do that. I'm not a very like emotional person when it comes to movies. So when a movie does make me cry, like, I always remember it. And I just think it's really well written, really well directed. It's kind of about like climate change and other really devastating and heavy events, but it's all through the eyes of like a 5-year-old. And I think that perspective, like viewing issues like that, is so interesting and relatable because personally, when I look at things like homelessness or devastation or suffering or like big scary things like war and terrorism and climate change, like I feel like a little kid, like powerless and just scared, and like it's like those things are like adult monsters kind of. And that's kind of what the movie makes you feel like, being in the perspective of this little girl whose home is being destroyed because it's like being flooded. So it's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Called Beasts of the Southern Wild, directed by Ben Zeitlin. I highly recommend. It's a great film, but very emotional, and it might have you crying a little bit.
We are two different bits. Because in my number 9, then, I have Stick It.
Okay, this movie's very good, and the main character is hot as fuck. I recently watched this.
Okay, literally have my first point. I had a huge crush on Haley in it, who is our main character. Loved her. I still, like, when I watch it back, I'm just still like, I'm like very attracted to you. Love this whole movie. It's a gymnastics movie. If you haven't seen it, it's just a fun time. It makes me feel good whenever I watch it. I love gymnastics already. Like, I love the gymnastics element of it. And all of the characters are very funny. There's not like a huge like romance plot to it, which I like, that it's just more about like Haley and her gymnastics career and then her with her friends. It's funny, but it has depth to it. Like some of the stuff with Haley's life, like some of the stuff that happened with her parents and her old coach and why she walked out on a huge competition years ago and like has left the sport. It's just all great. It's great storytelling. It's true like 2000s kind of vibes as well, which is just like fun to go back on and watch. It's just truly a knockout film. And if you have not watched it yet, would 12 out of 10 recommend.
You had that one on your original list, I'm pretty sure, right?
Did I really? I don't think that would have been in my top 5.
No, I kind of
It might have
remember.
been an honorable mention.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this at some point on this show, and I hadn't seen it at that point, and you were like, oh my god, I can't believe you've never seen it. I have since seen it, and I agree. Like, that's a really, really good film. Not even being funny. It's like a really, really good movie.
I don't know about, I can't speak for Katie's list, but on my list in particular, you're going to see a lot of movies that have been around for a while. I don't really have a lot of like newer releases because I don't like watching. I mean, I love watching new movies, but I very rarely do I watch a new movie and I'm like, oh, that's like a rewatch for me. I really just like rewatch old favorites all the time. Cracking my top 10, there's not going to be a lot of like newer ones. And Stick It came out in like 2004 or something, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because I was like, I feel like there are no movies recently that I'm like, that's my new favorite movie or anything like that. I think since the pandemic, content just hasn't been, at least in the movie department, I feel like I like a lot more shows than film right now.
I just realized I left out one of the most recent. Oh my god, I don't know how I left this out. Okay, I'm gonna reconfigure while you go to your number 9.
Okay. And this is really embarrassing because in college, when we would like go around and say our favorite movie in like my cinema classes, I would always say this one, and it's really embarrassing to think back to it because it's like definitely not my favorite movie now. It's my number 9. But it has to be on my list, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, directed by David Yates. He directed 4, 5, 6, and both 7s of the Harry Potter franchise. I have to have this on my list because Harry Potter was like my favorite thing ever growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
This is my original comfort movie, like hangover movie, sick movie. I think I talked about that in the last episode. And then it's just like the conclusion of my favorite series and like the conclusion of my childhood, basically. So I'm always going to remember like going to see it in the theaters and like how obsessed I was with it and how highly I was anticipating it, like leading up to the release. I was having like dreams about this movie. This was kind of like the first experience I had with like really highly anticipating a film release, and I think Harry Potter was like the introduction to a lot of things for me, like storytelling wise and like creativity and imagination wise. So it's always gonna have like a special place in my heart. And yeah, I just feel like it evoked genuine emotion for me. And also Hermione in this film had me feeling very sexually confused. And that's all I have to say about that. Poor 2011 Katie was like, why can I not stop thinking about Emma Watson? It's crazy. I had a scrapbook, an Emma Watson scrapbook, like, bitch.
Oh my god.
You're gay. So gay.
I saw a TikTok recently talking about how Tom Felton only had like 23 minutes of screen time over the entire Harry Potter franchise.
He left an impact.
That was insane to me. But I do remember because I watched those for our one YA franchise video because I had never watched all of them before. And I remember watching them and I'm like, why does everyone love Draco so much when he's like barely in these? Mm-hmm. But yet he's like this huge character. Okay, so I had to do some reconfiguring because I truly don't know how. I just felt in my bones that I was missing a movie. I couldn't figure out what it was, and then it hit me when we were talking earlier, so I did have to do some reconfiguring. So number 8, this did get bumped down a slot. It was originally a little bit higher, but the other movie trumped it. So The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock.
I watched this the other day.
Rom-com ever. The rewatchability factor of this movie is so high. It still is funny. It's timeless. No matter how many times you watch it, it's still hilarious. It's not like it's not like some comedies where like they don't age as well. Like this one, I feel like for the most part, is like still pretty decent. Like, okay, certain
maybe the part at the end when they're like interviewing the man that isn't necessarily from America. Yeah.
But every time this is on TV, live TV, I always stop and watch it. No matter what point of the movie it's at, always stop and watch it. I love the Alaska vibes and how it's like the small town and like it's totally like the fish out of water thing, which like I love and works. I love that it's like grumpy sunshine, but like she's the grumpy one. Like both Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock are incredible in it. Also love Betty White, R.I.P.
Yes.
Queen. And just so many great quotable parts. It's just truly like one of the best rom-coms ever. And we have not seen anything like it since, nor do I think we will ever see anything like it.
No, we will never see its kind again.
I feel like the age of the rom-com has really died in recent years, and this was like one of our last good ones that we got.
I agree. I think there might be a rom-com renaissance if actually funny gay people are allowed into the writers' rooms, because no offense to Billy Eichner, but I don't think he's like that funny when he's writing like plot driven things. No offense, please don't come for me. Like Bros, I hope it's doing well. I haven't seen it, but I don't really like feel inclined to, but that's like See, it seems to be like they're like, well, we could have a rom-com resurgence if we just do like gay stuff. It's like it's still got to be funny and good though. We'll see, maybe down the line.
Just love this one. Everyone will try to be her, but they can't be her.
My number 8. This is where we're getting into like I'm combining and things. This for me is Insidious 1 and 2, directed by James Wan. It's like a pairing because aside from Shrek, this is the best sequel like movie duo ever. In my opinion, the first movie is spectacular. I think the writing and the direction is amazing, and it's genuinely scary and believable, like a genuine fear, I don't know, of like just the realm beyond and like what's going on around us. I just find that very interesting. I love ghosts. I love like all that type of stuff. So it had me intrigued when I first saw it as a kid, and I continued to like be in love with these movies. And I really love Blumhouse. I love like high concept ideas with like low budget production values. So yeah, it's just like all my favorite elements in a horror movie. But I think these two movies coupled together, like if you ever are in the mood for a spooky double feature, which I know spooky season is over, but it's always spooky season. So if you ever want to watch Insidious 1 and 2 back to back, super good story. Like it's not just scary for the sake of being scary. There's a really good story behind it, and the second film answers a lot of questions that were left open-ended in the first film. So they really go well hand in hand together. Those movies, I don't really like the other Insidiouses, but they are coming out with a 5th one that is following the original family from the first 2, so I am super jazzed about that.
Yeah, I do definitely want to see that one. Knowing that it, like if it was another spin-off one, it's like, man, I'd like to see that, please and thank you. My number 7, aptly at number 7, is Furious 7, the 7th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. This franchise as a whole, of course, like I could have put the entire franchise kind of as a top 10 on my list here, but specifically 6 and 7 has always been my 2 favorites, but I did narrow it down. I just chose 7 for this one because I could. I love this whole franchise, but I think 7 is always just going to be a very special movie because it is the last one with Paul Walker. And so I think for that, like it tugs at like my emotions a little bit more than the other movies. Obviously, I think the ending send-off that they did for him was absolutely beautiful. It gets me every single time. This one also has Letty back full time, which I love because they killed her off in 4 and then brought her back in 6, but she was like, she had amnesia. She was with the rival crew, you know, whatever. So she was there, but she wasn't like there with everyone. But having her back with the crew, she's just my favorite. I love the addition of Miss Sandy, aka Natalie Emmanuel. She was added in this one, and I think she was a great addition to the cast. I think the sequences are great in this one. They're entertaining, but they're not like crazy outrageous. I mean, they're still like obviously not believable, but they're not like submarine space level unbelievable. You know, they still are like grounded in like a little bit of reality. And yeah, I think my only critique of this one is that Mia is not very much involved. She's like off with their kids, which like I don't really love. I know she was having another baby, so whatever. They needed to do it for the plot line. But yeah, Furious 7 is my favorite of them.
Remember when we like rewatched all of them? Blacked. Could not tell you a single plot element. Gone. I don't have any retention of that.
Fun fact, this one was directed by James Wan as well, so ironic that we
yeah.
have them back.
Yeah, I remember when we discovered that, and we were like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Definitely like an odd choice, but I like his direction in it, and I do think that it carries like a level of darkness over the movie as a whole with his direction.
My number 7 is definitely a new addition from 2 years ago because it just came out recently. I feel like this is probably my most recent thing on my list, and it's going to be the Fear Street trilogy directed by Lee Janiak. I had just come out when these movies came out, and so I think I'm just always going to remember it and like have it be attached to the feelings that I was feeling during that time. They made me really happy, and they still do when I watch them, and I think they like make me nostalgic for the intense emotions I was feeling at the time, even though some of those emotions weren't necessarily like positive. I just, again, it's like always going to mark that time period in my life. And I do remember like watching the two girls who are in love with each other on screen and just being like excited for my future and like what was, you know, to come with me, like finally living authentically. So that's a sweet thing to remember. And then aside from like what was going on in my personal life, I just think the writing is really well done. It's adapted from an R.L. Stein trilogy or like book series. I don't know. I think it's really well done. I love the vibes and just like the style of the film. Always gonna remember our like reaction videos and how fun that was. And then I like just the style of filmmaking where you make all 3 movies at once and then you like release them like 1 week apart from each other. I really, really
Smart.
like that a lot and would love to do a project like that in the future. I think there's a lot of projects that would benefit from doing that style. And I hope to see more stuff like that in the future. I don't think a lot of content has been made like that, but I'm down for it to happen more often because I don't like waiting for years and years for shit to come out, whether it's a TV show or a movie or whatever. And I also sometimes think TV show seasons are too long or too, like if they would have made this like a show, I don't know if it would have impacted me as much as the movies did. And it probably would have been canceled after season 1 anyways, because gay women shows always get canceled after season 1. So with the trilogy, it's like they wrapped up their story and
Stephanie!
Except for Stephanie, R.I.P. and Jeremy.
Jeremy! God but not forgotten. Yes. Agreed. Those were so much fun to watch. My number 6 is the movie that I forgot and I knew it was missing, so it is gonna have to sit at number 6 because truly that top 5 baby ain't changing. But it is just incredible. A Star Is Born, the 2018 version with 2018, right? With Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Revolutionary. Not only just the movie itself, but also then the press tour and the buzz about it, their performance at the Oscars. I am forever changed because of this film. Okay.
That Oscars performance.
Yes. Oh my God. Wait, no, because I didn't have time to write any notes on this. I was like, oh my God, did I delete my notes? No, I didn't because I forgot about it. It absolutely broke my heart. I did not know, even though it's the 4th remake or the 3rd remake, or 4th.
It's like the 4th.
I didn't know how it ended going into it, so I was absolutely shattered. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper are a duo that I never would have imagined together, but they worked so freaking well together. Lady Gaga was amazing in this. Bradley Cooper was amazing. Him directing it. Bitch, you should have gotten your Oscar, sir. I'm so sorry that you have not gotten yours yet. It will come for you. I believe in you. The music's amazing. The acting's amazing. The direction is amazing. Like, truly, I have zero complaints about this entire movie. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that Oscars performance. I was like, that is borderline adultery. I'm so sorry, but he is married. Or in a committed relationship.
Married, but yes.
Committed relationship. Okay, my number 6 is going to be, again, multiple movies in one, but just bear with me. Scream 1 and 4, directed by...
I just rewatched 4 the other weekend. Yay!
Yes, bitch. Directed by Wes Craven. He directed both of them, and I think it shows. I feel like the Scream franchise has always been very, like, self-aware, which I love that, especially in horror movies. Like, the original one and all of them, like, afterwards, you can just tell it's, like, horror movies made by horror movie fans, and I love the way that 4 pays homage to the original, and I just think, like, my journey and our journey with this franchise is very like interesting and unconventional. I love that we saw the 4th one when we were younger, and then that kind of like introduced us to the franchise, and I don't know if I would have like discovered it that early on like that if they didn't continue it on and like make a Scream for our generation. I just think that's really cool, and they like incorporate the internet into it and like kids making videos and filming themselves. Super good. If you haven't seen Scream 4, it's incredible. Emma Roberts, Scream Queen, bad bitch alert. Yeah, it's super fucking good. We just rewatched the first Scream on Halloween. Because I was like, on Halloween, I either need to watch original Halloween, or one of the Screams. Watched it and love it. And it's definitely on my list. Not top 5, but I have a lot of scary movies on my list. I'm just not realizing. But I love to...
scary ones.
Yeah, it keeps me off my phone. Like, not many movies have me fully enthralled the entire time. So it's got to be a scary one.
I wanted to watch the new one that I had the bad trip during, so I never like finished it, but it's not on Paramount Plus. So I ended up watching 4 instead, which is good, but I do want to watch the new one at some point. But
yeah, the new one is really good. That was so fucking
trash. That's a story for another time, folks.
Yeah.
But we're into our top 5. My number 5. It's this franchise as a whole, but I did pick out specifically The Hunger Games Catching Fire to highlight, but the Hunger Games franchise as a whole. 4 movies, 4 solid perfection films. But Catching Fire, the second one, it's the best book in the series, and it's the best movie in the franchise, and it is the best booked movie adaptation that there will ever be.
Mm-hmm.
No one will ever be her. Like, they should just stop adapting shit, because they're never gonna be The Hunger Games Catching Fire, okay?
Yeah.
They took an already incredible first movie, kind of like Shrek 2, and like built even more off it. Like, the first Hunger Games had like an indie style budget.
Yeah.
And they took a huge Hollywood budget and made the most out of it without like losing any of the integrity of the story or the characters or anything. Where it very could have gone cartoonish, especially with like the Capitol, with Effie, with the other tributes. Like, they could have botched it very easily, and they didn't. And Francis Lawrence did amazing with it. He's the one who directed this one. Still, I love the first one. That one had a separate director, did a great job. But Francis Lawrence really did a great job with this one. Perfect cast. They kept the casting amazing, and with the new tributes that they added in, amazing additions. No one like fell short in their role. Amazing story. You're getting us back into the Hunger Games, which could be hard to do because, again, you don't want to like repeat shit from the first movie, but never once did it feel like, oh, we've already seen this. Great effects, amazing story. Once again, literally not a single complaint. It's November, which means it's my time for my yearly rewatch of this franchise, and I'm very excited to do that soon.
Yeah, same. Also the soundtrack. Best soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack slaps. 10 out of 10.
My number 5 is Lady Bird, directed by Greta Gerwig. I think this film is one of like my biggest inspirations when it comes to filmmaking. I think it's some of like the most authentic filmmaking that I've ever seen, because as like a young woman growing up in America, I can really relate to it, and it just feels very real watching it. And I'm sure people feel that way watching all sorts of movies, but just like for me, I can really relate to this movie. And I feel like my writing style emulates Greta's a lot. Like, I try to make people feel the way that I felt like when I was living that scenario in my life. And I just hope to someday be able to emulate her direction, because I feel like she's really good at directing her actors and formulating a story on screen that like really translates and is palpable, and you can feel it in this debut project of hers. And then like onwards in her career, it's just gotten better. She's just so good at evoking those emotions, and I just want to be like that. So yeah, this was like the first movie of hers that I saw, obviously, and like got introduced to her. I like read the script monthly, and I learn new things every time I read it, and I just can't get enough. I love this film. And it's like not a happy ending. Ugh, it's so good.
I love not a happy ending.
Because it's just like it's the end of the story. Doesn't mean that the characters aren't going to have a happy ending, but it's just like, it's so good.
Perfection. My number 4 is The Spectacular Now, just 2013, 2011 with Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. Just again, another beautiful book to movie adaptation done so well. It's such a simple movie. Like, really, the story is quite very simple. It's just these 2 kids falling in love, both struggling with things in their own right, but it just makes such a compelling story still. Like, you don't feel bored watching it. It's beautifully shot. They shot it on like actual like film, you know, so it like just has that special look to it. So many long shots too, where they're like 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes long, and it's just like that makes it feel so real and authentic. Perfectly acted. Shailene Woodley, Miles Teller, obviously amazing. Also, Brie Larson is in this. She's great in it too. She has a smaller role, but her role is still important in it. Mm-hmm. And it just actually feels like you're watching like a real high school love story, like your first love kind of love story. And Sutter, played by Miles Teller, is one of my all-time favorite like heroes in a movie. Love his character. No part of this movie is like over dramatized just for the sake of like plot or dramatization. It's just very much like he's struggling because his dad left him, and like it's just like a very real look at people like processing very real things that happen in their lives. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah, when I think about like authentic storytelling and filmmaking, that's another another one where it's just like it feels like someone just put a camera into real life and captured the feelings and emotions surrounding this like one particular situation. Yeah, that's a really good film. Another book to movie adaptation that I feel like is relatively successful besides the ending.
Yeah.
I feel like the book ending of that one's a little better than the film.
I like the book ending better as well. I wish that it would have ended like that.
Because that movie came out around the like YA Fault in Our Stars time, but it was not Fault in Our Stars vibes at all. It was way, I feel like it brought that audience in, but it had to have that like happy storybook ending to kind of keep that audience like somewhat satisfied.
I feel like it's a YA story for a larger age range where, you know, I think other movies of that time were more like really hyper targeted at just like the young adult audience, where this one I feel like kind of transcends, because you can, like, anyone of any age can kind of watch it and like see it and feel that sense of like nostalgia or like connection to it.
My number 4 is going to be Moonlight by Barry Jenkins, another script that I love to read and look at from time to time, because I think the writing of this film is so amazing. It's adapted from like a play, I'm pretty sure, so I think that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie. I just like really like it. I think it's visually very stunning and beautiful. Obviously, like, the story is good and it's sad and hard to watch at times, but that's like not necessarily why I like this film. It's more just like the look of it and the visual elements that like aid in the storytelling that I find very cool. And I think it'll always kind of mark the time that I started learning about film and really falling in love with movies as a way of storytelling, because it came out when I was in college, like starting to take my film classes and stuff. And I remember the first time I watched it, after it had been nominated, or after it won Best Picture for that year at the Oscars, and I was like, I don't think this is the best movie of the year. Like, come on.
Well, now it's like the whole, you know, wrong call kind of thing.
Yeah, the little mix up. But I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, whatever. I didn't really get it. And then now every time I rewatch it, I'm just like, oh my God, this is just so incredible and so well done. So I just like that I like have that better perspective now that I'm like less ignorant and more knowledgeable about art. I just like that movie. It's like just more a visual thing for me.
Yeah, it's a really solid movie.
Yeah, and I like it being separated into chapters too. Like, the format of it is very satisfying. There's lots of elements to it that I really appreciate.
It's beautiful. Number 3, it's the final countdown. Okay, my number 3 is, this is going to be surprising because I'm pretty sure that this one was my top. I think this one was my top one last time we did this episode. However, it's still Lila's Silver Linings Playbook. But I think just in the grand scheme of things, when I had to like sit down and be honest with myself, and I'm like, when's the last time that you've watched this? And I'm like, it's probably been a year, where I've watched my other 2 like probably twice in that time. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. So, Silver Linings Playbook, again, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro. Like, are we surprised? Like, my 2 favorites leading this film has been and always will be a favorite for me ever since I've seen it. I remember when I saw it back in 2012 when it came out, and it just like, it touched something inside. It touched something inside of me then, and it has still done that to this day. Both of them absolutely kill it. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence really made a name for herself with this movie in terms of like the higher elite of Hollywood. Like, obviously, Hunger Games made her like more worldwide known, but this one really put her up in that like high status of A-list actress. Bradley Cooper is just amazing in this. I absolutely love his character so much. Just seeing 2 people, like, they're very flawed characters and they really struggle, but you cannot help but root for them when you're watching it, and just wanting, like, even when people around them, you know, are doubting them or not really like pushing them down, but more just like expecting for them to mess up and kind of like waiting for them to do that. And they're just really trying to do their best and finding, you know, some sense of like connection within each other and some comfort within each other and like their struggles, and how like they both think that the other is crazier than them is so good. I love the diner scene, the final dance scene, the whole theme of like Excelsior throughout the movie and how that's like Pat's motivational word and stuff. It just, Ugh, it's so freaking good. I just love that movie so much.
Yeah, that is a good one. My number 3 is going to be Little Women 2019, directed by Greta. We've done a whole episode on the Little Women films, and I talked about this one a lot, so see that episode for more in-depth thoughts about this. Again, the care in making and adapting this film from like the original source material, and then also like building on top of all the other remakes. Like Little Women has been remade and redone so many times, not just like the 4 big Hollywood productions that have happened over like the past 100 years, but plays, TV shows, even like anime has done its own version of it. So just an incredible story where you think like it can't be, well, like what more is there to add to this story about 4 women? But Greta like just added so much to it and made the story like so much richer, which is again like what I aspire to do. She just has this ability to reach into a story and like pull out its full potential and really just hammer it home in a way that like other people can't necessarily. This is just a movie that feels like it was made for me. It has all of my favorite like actresses in it from like my childhood, everything Emma Watson to like Florence and Saoirse. Like obviously I love all of them. And then Laura Dern, Meryl Streep. Everybody's just fucking solid and incredible. I think it was a justified remake for like multiple reasons. We needed a post Me Too movement version of this story, in my opinion. We needed this like group of Hollywood elite women to come together. And Little Women is like not notorious, but like known for bringing Hollywood elite people together to like redo it. And I just felt like there were so many really big players in this time where it was like it made sense to get them all together to do it. A really, really strong ensemble. Like everybody just kind of was in the age range where it's like it just made sense. Like let's redo Little Women and let's have Greta do it because duh. And yeah, she killed it. I don't know. I love that movie. It's another one that like I cry every time I watch it, which is hard to make me do because I'm like emotionally stunted. I rewatch it every Christmas.
Lilas Greta. Katie is your number 1 fan.
Yes.
And he's number 1. I love that episode 2 of the pod too. Why is his name Teddy?
I know. Why did they call him Teddy? Why do they call her Marmee?
Well, that I still have questions about, but Teddy at least there was an answer for.
Why is she called Marmee?
Unless her name is Marmalade, it makes no sense. Okay, my number 2, I texted Katie. I'm like, it was kind of cheating, whatever. I'm lumping them both together here because I said to her, gun to my head, you can't make me choose. Like, I think I would just rather just sit there and die than have to choose one or the other. And so I'm doing Star Wars as a whole, but specifically Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Those are my 2 supreme Star Wars movies of all time. Kind of cheating, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about them a little bit individually super quick, but Episode 3 has truly been revolutionary for my life because I have been obsessed with this movie since 5th grade. Like it has the obsession, it may have like waned at times where it's like it's not as prevalent in the forefront of my mind, but it's always been there. It's where my love, it has. It's where my love for villains has stemmed from. I love this franchise with my whole heart and soul. The battle on Mustafar is by far one of the best ever. I love watching the descent into evil. Like when I was a kid, I could watch this movie and be entertained, but as an adult, I can watch it and truly appreciate it for the character development that is Anakin Skywalker. Seeing the pain in Obi-Wan Kenobi in that final scene when it truly like pains him what he thinks is kill Anakin. Obviously, we know that Anakin is not dead at the end of this, but when he truly thinks that he's left him for dead, it's so beautiful. I also loved the romance between Padme and Anakin until the Force choke, and even still I was like, okay. It's just incredible. Love Episode 3 so much. And Episode 8 reignited my love for Star Wars. Yes, The Force Awakens kind of did that already, but like The Last Jedi was truly where I had that same like gut punch, like heart clenching emotion that I get when I'm watching Episode 3, where it just like it really like feeds something inside of me. I love all of the new characters. I love the focus on Rey and Kylo specifically in this movie, and like how they really both, they are like a dyad in the Force, even though we don't know that in this movie. movie. We learned that in the last one. But in this one, you totally see that like playing out on screen and the strong pull to the light and the dark side that they both have inside of them and how they're like trying to bring that out in each other, but like doing the opposite. Like Ray's trying to bring out the light in him. He's trying to bring out the dark in her. Their dynamic carries this whole film. Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver carry it. They are amazing together. Adam Driver, I love you. Love the storylines. People who say that it doesn't feel like a Star Wars film, fuck off. I don't care what you say. The throne room scene, I truly have no words for it. It's beautifully done and one of the best newer lightsaber battles that we have. The scene with Vice Admiral Hodo and when she drove the cruiser and like they cut the sound out completely. Masterful.
Oh, yeah.
Masterful. No words. I love this movie. I don't care. So much hate. Rian Johnson gets so much hate for this movie. But you know what? The prequels also got a lot of hate and they're being loved now. So I'm just waiting for its time when everyone comes back around and realize that Rian Johnson worked magic with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And J.J. Abrams is the one who fucked it up in episode 9. Rest my case. I'm just a Star Wars hoe till the day I die. Those two.
We love it. It's interesting too to think about like the similarities between 3 and 8. I can see why you like both of them. What are we on? We are on number 2. Okay, my number 2 is La La Land, directed by Damien Chazelle. This has definitely moved up in my rankings. I don't even know if it was on my list the first time around doing this, but this movie is literally why I live where I live now. It's why I'm pursuing what I'm pursuing. I mean, it's not the sole reason, but like it's definitely moved up in my rankings because like ever since I moved here, whenever I get discouraged, I watch this movie and, well, Cooper, where'd your head go?
His face just in and out.
It just kind of is like my reminder to keep on going and that everybody has faced adversity and like discouraging down bad moments. And I also think that it's just like a lovely film. I love lots of parts in it, but I just think Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling do a good job because they're not necessarily like musical people. So it just kind of seems almost like a fish out of water type thing. Like they're not it's almost like they're out of place, which I feel like everybody's a little out of place in LA. So I don't know. I just
works.
It really does work. And yeah, it's just one that I could watch literally every day for the rest of my life and never get sick of. And yeah, I cry at the end every single time. The final sequence, a hard hitter. And very well written, very well done, very well acted. It's funny, like uplifting. It's not too sad or like existential or anything like that. So I think it's a nearly perfect film.
I need to rewatch that one. I haven't watched it in a long time. Honorable mention, rapid fire before we get to number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tangled was originally on my list and then it got bumped off. So honestly, that one should have been 10 and Frozen 2 should be honorable mention, but A Star is Born ended up bumping it off. Love that movie. Legally Blonde, The Devil Wears Prada, She's the Man, and John Tucker Must Die are all of my honorable mentions.
Great ones. E.T. for me, love that movie. I mean, Shrek 2.
Shrek 2 is phenomenal.
It's a great, great film. Call Me By Your Name, Beautiful Boy, The Hunger Games, obviously, Debs, which is like a gay spy movie. Bring It On. Oh, Aquamarine. I'm being dead ass serious. Like these are some of the best movies ever made.
There's no judgment
you can fight
from me.
Halloween. That's all I'll say for now. But there's a lot of good ones out there. Very obscure movie preference for me.
Yeah. Also Avatar. All right. Number 1 movie of all time.
Number one.
It is going to be the 2004 film from Walt Disney Studios, Miracle. This movie is quite literally the most phenomenal thing I've ever seen. It is, I just rewatched it this past weekend and it just made me realize that this truly is, I think, probably my most rewatched movie I've ever seen because I grew up watching it. Like my parents loved this movie. I've seen it so many freaking times, but I think the thing that made me realize like this maybe is my number 1 movie because it hits me the exact same feeling every single time. There's never been a time that I've watched it where I've been like, that's cringy, or like, that's not as well done, or like, oh, that's not giving me goosebumps anymore, or, oh, I'm not crying at the end of it. Like every single time I get the same depth of emotion that I feel when I like watched it the first time. Amazing acting. The fact that they had to cast hockey players and teach them to act for this movie, and that when you're watching it, the performances are amazing.
Yeah.
That is wild to me. They did amazing with casting. The sound editing is out of this world. I remember watching the behind the scenes on that, and every single puck drop, like the ping against the boards, the skates, like every single thing had to be dubbed over to like create that sound. Wild to me. Great cinematography. Of course, it's a beautiful story. Like, I'm only patriotic when I'm watching this movie.
Yes.
Just everything is beautiful. And I love especially some of the inclusions of like the old elements of the film, like specifically in the game against the Russians at the end when it bleeds out in the final period, like counting down the 10-second countdown, and it bleeds into the real voiceover announcer from the actual games. And it's like, do you believe in miracles? Flawless execution around the board. And also Kurt Russell would smash. Love you, Kurt Russell.
Wow.
Yeah.
You would smash
movie.
Herb, Coach Herb.
I would. Especially now watching it back where like that style has kind of come back. Like some of the stuff that you see them wearing, it's like that's interesting because that's kind of like on trend now.
I don't know if I would smash Coach Herb, but I definitely would smash Mr. Stronghold.
Wait, who's Mr. Stronghold?
From Sky High.
Oh, is that his character in that? See, I haven't seen Sky High.
You haven't seen Sky High? That's another honorable mention for me. That movie is phenomenal. You need to watch it.
I thought you were talking about like one of the hockey players, because also so many of the hockey players.
McClanahan.
Actually, no, he's not even my favorite.
I like him. I like also the goalie.
Oh my god. I literally just watched this. Oh, Jimmy Craig. Yes. Love Craig. It's not because it's McClanahan and what's the other? Jack O'Callahan. Jack O'Callahan is my favorite.
He's the one with like he's from
Boston
Minnesota,
accent.
right? Oh, Boston.
No, he's the one with the Boston accent with the like flippy hair. But McClanahan's the one from Minnesota that he has beef with. Yeah. So that's my number one.
I rewatched that recently too, and it's good. I like that movie a lot.
It's a solid movie.
My number one film of all time, I think this is the perfect movie ever made. Nothing will top it. It's Freaky Friday, directed by Mark Waters. I don't think a better film has ever been made, period. The acting is incredible. Jamie Lee and Lindsay Lohan, an iconic duo. They play the reversal so well. I love how, like, on the DVD case, like, the cover of it, you can see that, like, Lindsay Lohan's name is over Jamie Lee and Jamie Lee's name is over Lindsay, because it's like, when I was a kid, I genuinely thought they traded bodies to like act, just my dumbass little kid head. Lindsay Lohan was my first crush. Like, we've talked about all of this. We need to do a full Freaky Friday episode. We do. It's high time. Maybe for my birthday this year. Like, we just got to do it. Fully break it down and fully talk about it. But yeah, there's no better cinema than this. The one thing I would change is like the cultural appropriation and the little bit of like stereotypical or stereotyping of like Asian culture and all that. Don't really like or appreciate that. But otherwise, like 11 out of 10 film. I don't believe there's like a better way to do a movie. I just think it's so impeccable and incredibly well done.
Oh, I'm so happy that that's your number one. We have some solid number one choices, people. They might not be the most highbrow films, but they are incredible.
I was too nervous to like officially say like Freaky Friday is my favorite movie of all time back when we first did this episode. And I was like, oh, It's a Wonderful Life or like something else, which again, It's a Wonderful Life, honorable mention. Freaky Friday has always been my favorite movie and will always be my favorite movie. I like compare everything to it.
Yeah, I feel like both of our lists this time, like they're still all solid movies, but I feel like this time, we were a little bit more just like, what do we actually love the most, and not like, what do we say we love the most,
right? Yeah, no, this is it.
Love that.
That's
us. Growth.
Take it or leave it. Take it or fucking leave it. Period. I don't care. I don't care if we get a bunch of hate comments on this. These are our favorite movies.
You probably wouldn't get many, but when I started out my list with Frozen 2. So, to be fair, I did say that I think, and granted, these change, like they change over the course, which is why maybe, who knows, maybe in a year we'll revisit and like our list will probably be in different orders and things. So, at this time right now, as of November 2nd, 2022, this is our list.
This is it. And that's special that we get to look back and be like, oh wow, this is what it was at that period, at that point point in time. I love that we have
Yeah.
this. My hair is
Me
getting
too.
very long.
It's getting really long. I haven't seen it that long in a long time.
I haven't cut it
Yo.
since remember my birthday when I like chopped it. Haven't cut it since then.
It's
Maybe
good for
you could
like
trim.
fall, you know, like good for that. I know I need a trim on mine too. My ends are disgusting, but I don't want to pay for it.
Same.
That's what it comes down to. I just straight up don't want to pay for it. So
Yeah, sorry. No. All right, we're done, girlies. Next time we are talking about Pretty Little Liars. It's finally time for the rewatch of the century.
it is time. I've been seeing so many of those TikToks, you know, where it's like the slides of multiple things and it's like moments that changed my life. And it's like Pretty Little Liars moments that changed my life. And I'm like, I'm so freaking
Yes.
excited for this.
Dude, when
It's
we
gonna
get
be
to
fun.
the Toby situation, I'm ready. I'm living.
Shook to the actual core.
And yeah, there's a lot of things coming out like in November and December this year that I'm really looking forward to. Lindsay Lohan, speaking of the Queen, is returning to Hollywood. Bitch, she's making her triumphant return this Christmas season. We will be covering her new movie, and She Said is coming out soon. I really want to see that. I know you
So
talked about
excited
wanting
for
to see that. Bones and All with Timothée Chalamet. Really looking forward to that. Jennifer Lawrence is in a new movie soon.
I know. How did I not even know that until I saw that video? I knew that she had projects coming out, but I didn't know that it was that soon. Like, there's been I haven't seen a single trailer.
Lots of fun things to come. The end of the year is always the best.
It's always busy.
For-
The summer is
for
always kind of a
movies.
lull. We're headed into award season, people. It's gonna get busy. See you next time.
Lilas.